So it's really critical that you are making a push all of the time to get new reviews. And, the good news is that's important anyway, because, you've got the monitoring side of reputation management, which is key. You've got the mitigating reputation repair if you get bad reviews. And one of those strategies is simply getting new reviews, but that is really the third pillar of what you need to do for reputation management, and that is building your reputation in the first place and ongoing. Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the NetBlaze podcast, marketing ideas for small businesses. Look, if you're concerned about getting new customers, keeping the customers that you have, and increasing the revenue, the lifetime value of those customers, then you've come to the right place, because we're here to help. Hello and welcome, everybody. A bit of a change of scenery today as I am in NetBlaze's Chicago office. Nice to see a little bit maybe of a change of scenery. However, on the downside, there will be a lot more noise because we are literally right on Michigan Avenue, for those of you who know Chicago. So I apologize in advance if there's, if you hear sirens and other city noises, but hopefully you'll kind of stick through that, because the topic that we're going to talk about today is pretty important. It's reputation management, and that's kind of just a fancy way of saying, how are you trying to understand your online reputation and what others see and say about you. And the reason it's critical to have a handle on your online reputation, it hopefully is pretty obvious. I mean, when you go and look for new companies to do business with, let's say you need a plumber or something like that, I'm guessing that once you do a search for plumber near you, you then take a look and see, all right, well, how many reviews does this plumber have? Are they a 4-star, 5-star? What are other people saying about them? And you might use, Google My Business reviews. That's usually what people start with, because it's right there and available. When somebody types in plumber near you, you get a list of the plumbers. In addition to the list of the plumbers, you see their reviews, what their star rating and how many reviews, and you can read the reviews all through their Google My Business page. So people are more and more, over the last decade or so, have sort of had this behavior drummed into them that that's the way to do it. Is you do a search and then you look for peer reviews of businesses, and there are lots of it's not a perfect system. It's exploitable. I mean, what if your competitor wanted to make you look bad? Well, they could just leave a really, really crummy review, and it happens. I mean, it happens all the time. What about if you were an unscrupulous business owner and you wanted to put up fake reviews? That happens probably more than the former scenario, and certainly all the platforms, Google My Business, Facebook, which, has reviews and reputation management stuff on it, and Yelp, and TripAdvisor, and on and on and on, right? They're all trying to root out both of those things, probably more aggressively root out the fake reviews. But they can't do it perfectly. They can't really win that battle. So it's not a perfect system, and it can be frustrating at times. But that doesn't make it, sort of any less important. So it's absolutely mission critical for you in, remember, we always talk about getting new customers, keeping the ones that we have, and increasing the lifetime value of those customers. Those are really the three things that we want to accomplish in any marketing strategy. And this reputation management is pretty crucial for the first part, which is arguably the most important of the three, and that's getting new customers. Because again, that's what people see, when they're thinking about doing business with you. It's your reputation, your online reputation, that sort of smacks them in the face first. So reputation management is something that we should all be concerned about as part of our digital marketing strategy. It was originally a public relations term, which was a lot more complicated and nuanced. When you're talking about digital reputation management, it's pretty straightforward. You have to do a few things. The first is you must always be monitoring. Now, you could use a tool like NetBlaze that does it for you, or you could do it manually. But it is absolutely critical that you regularly Google your business to see if anybody's writing something about you. Maybe they've written a blog post or a social media post or something about your company. You need to know about those things. You need to look at your Google My Business page. You need to look at Facebook. You need to look at your Facebook business page and see what people are writing as far as reviews. You need to look at Yelp and TripAdvisor, depending on what kind of company you are, and maybe there are others. But you need to have some way of either automatically having a tool like NetBlaze or do it manually. Somehow always have a handle on what's going on out there, what people are saying. That's your baseline. That's critical. And the other thing that's really important is to respond to every single review out there, every single one that you can anyway. So even if it's a good one, especially if it's a good one, to thank people for leaving a review, maybe, have a little bit more of a personal answer, not like a boilerplate, thank you, that sort of thing. And it gets harder as your business grows. And it's a lot easier when you have, fewer reviews. But it's really, really important because people read those responses and it makes them more real and it makes them more, gives them more street cred, that sort of thing. It's obviously even more important to respond to negative reviews and sort of say, give your side of the story. Although you have to be careful there because the goal is not really to argue. The goal is not to convert that person. You're writing a response to a negative review to the other people that are going to be reading it. So you have to be really careful. Like sometimes you're going to get a customer who just is not satisfied for whatever reason. You're never going to change that. You're not going to change their mind. So what you're writing is a response that is your side, that is maybe some sort of mitigating factors or an explanation or even just an apology, whatever it is, right? But you're writing it not for them, not for the people who complained, but you're writing it for the next people that are going to come along and read it. And so it's really important to do that. The other thing that, one of our other episodes, we talked about search engine optimization. Actually responding to reviews and so on are signals that increase your presence within the context of search engine optimization. I won't go into that here. You can look at some of our other podcasts about that. So it's really, really important. So the first thing is always be monitoring in some way, whether it's a tool or doing it manually, and always be responding to those reviews that you get, whether they're good or bad. And remember why you're responding. You're responding to the next person who comes along and reads it. Okay. Next thing is what if I get a bad review? And so, sort of reputation repair. Well, you should always be on the lookout, for that sort of stuff. And, if it's a negative social media post, sometimes you can just delete them. And particularly if it's not fair. This is another thing that happens here is my lights go off because they're, the green ones. So if I don't move around enough. So you can delete them. You can delete negative comments. You can untag yourself if you're tagged in a post, and again, when I say yourself, I mean your business. So you can certainly do that. If you feel like you've gotten a review from a competitor that is not a real customer of yours or some other scenario that, it's not fair, you can appeal to Google My Business, Yelp or whatever. Sometimes that works. It's like 50-50. I've seen it work quite a bit. I've seen it not work. But heck, you could certainly try. You can also reach out, particularly if you don't feel it's not fair, you can reach out to the person who left the review. And again, this is all sort of depends upon, what's happening out there and what the problem was. But you can say, hey, if I make this right, could you maybe either adjust that review or take it down? So there's lots of different ways to skin a cat, but the bottom line is, first you have to even know that it exists, which goes back to that monitoring and responding. And if you get a bad one that you feel is somehow unjustified, there are a few things that you can try, and you certainly should do that. But probably the easiest and the number one way to get rid of a negative reputation is simply to pile on good reviews. If you get one 3-star review, and that knocks you down to 3 stars because you only had like 3 or 4 reviews. If you get 50 5-star reviews, well, now you're up back to 4.9 or whatever. So it's really critical that you are making a push all of the time to get new reviews. And the good news is that's important anyway, because you've got the monitoring side of reputation management, which is key. You've got the mitigating reputation repair if you get bad reviews, and one of those strategies is simply getting new reviews. But that is really the third pillar of what you need to do for reputation management, and that is building your reputation in the first place and ongoing. So you need to build into your processes and your marketing strategy to always be asking for reviews. Okay. And there's a bunch of different ways you can do that. I mean, something just as simple as, having a tool that triggers an email and or a text is better, that goes out to a customer after every interaction. And, the other thing you need to be looking at as you're building your reputation is that you need to be focused on building Google My Business first, because that is the most important. Because that is where, again, we discussed this, people go, they say plumber near me, they see the plumber, they see 4-star review, they see there's 100 reviews, and then they start reading it. That's the most important, okay, no matter what kind of business you are, just because it's the path of least resistance to getting that new customer. But there's also Facebook reviews, there's Yelp reviews, there's TripAdvisor, and again, depending on your type of business, there may be other areas. And so you should expand out into that. And by that, I mean, when you ask somebody to leave a review, you give them a link and say, give me a review on Google My Business. But maybe once you've gotten 50 reviews, 100 reviews, you're 5-star, hey, could you leave a review on Facebook? So that's what I mean by that. So it's not enough to just generically build your reputation. You need to make sure that you're building it across all of these different platforms that are appropriate to your business. Obviously, plumber, not important to be on TripAdvisor, right? So it makes sense. So it's just sort of common sense. Absolutely critical to do all of these things for reputation management, because reputation management has a huge influence on you getting new customers. So you need to be constantly monitoring your reputation, and after monitoring, you need to be responding. Okay, whether it's good reviews or bad reviews, always respond, and it helps you in a whole bunch of different ways. And then you need to be repairing your reputation should you get bad reviews. Should your rate it? We like to see. I mean, if you're anything below 4.5 stars on a 5-star rating system, obviously you need to be looking at repair. I know that sounds crazy. 4.5, that sounds pretty good, but it's in the scheme of things, in the context of people looking at businesses to do business with, you need to be 4.5 or higher, in my opinion. So you need to be looking at repair. By doing all the things that we talked about. You can reach out to the person who left it. You reach out to the company. You can delete some of them yourself if they're on the social media, that sort of thing. And then getting new reviews is always really important to repair, but it's also really important to simply just building your reputation in the first place. So hopefully that gives you a little insight into reputation management and how important it is, and the things you need to focus on. And how you might be able to do that and incorporate it into your marketing. Certainly, I think a tool is the right way to go to help you with that, and we'd be happy to help you at NetBlaze. If you go over to netblaze.com, you can check out our tool to handle all of your digital marketing needs, and you can even get a free trial. So head over there, netblaze.com. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.